Good morning, man. Good to see you again. I know we've been chatting back and forth for a while. I'm sure the last couple of months have been busy for you, dude. How has it been?
Yeah, man, it's been just a storm of it's been a storm, man. We started working on this project to get Kai into, the UFC and get in the right situation back in March, so
Yeah.
it's been a lot of ups and downs and times of little, uncertainty and times of excitement and finally we're here and it's good to be close to the fight.
Yeah, I know it is very exciting. It's something that I know Kai has been kind of wanting to do beyond this year and everything, right? It's just a matter of all these things lining up.
Of course. And he's built such a big platform in Japan that we just had to do it the right way, and that meant taking time. So
Well, I mean, that's one of the things too is like I feel like people rush it a lot these days too with the UFC specifically. They make it easy kind of to rush, right, with Contender
yeah,
Series and all the options, but I think it's kind of a testament when you see he gets the title shot coming in, which is completely deserved. And I wish we would see more champs outside get that respect, but like it's so easy to rush these days, don't you think?
yeah, get in and you want your career to be managed the right way
Yeah.
and make the right moves for yourself because you see it on both sides. You see guys, rise to mega stardom right away, and you see guys with a ton of hype, burn out really fast too. So of course it's a gamble and you just really have to know your athlete and your athlete has to be in tune with himself and or herself and take the right strategy and approach. So, Kai's been, although he's been itching to fight,
Hmm.
as soon as possible, he's taken the right approach and, we've done the right preparations to get him to where he's at. And, I think we're going to see, the best version of Kai Asakura, come December 7th.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so to start things kind of off with the lineup I got here for you, Billy. Yeah, I'm curious, like
Yeah.
when you started working with Kai, because I was actually watching this week, just kind of, going over notes for my personal research and stuff. I saw you talking to my buddy Sasha Palatnikov on his podcast earlier this year. I think that was maybe in March, so right around when you were
Yeah.
saying there, back when you had the blonde. What happened with that, man?
Yeah. It's kind of the blonde is funny because Kai dyes his hair for
Right.
his fights, and that's like very American high school wrestler.
Yeah.
And so I used to do the same thing when I was in high school and stuff. So it's kind of like the whole team dyed their hair, and yeah, it was fun. But I'm gonna keep the brown. I like
All natural.
I just well, I don't like to. I'm not a big prep yourself, get ready
Yeah.
type of guy. I'm like roll out of bed and brush
Here
my
we are.
teeth. That's about it. So. But yeah, man, I started working with Kai, almost 2 years ago. I was, coaching over at Syndicate MMA. I was a head wrestling coach there, and helped run a lot of the operations with John Wood, and we had we built up a good program. They're still seeing success, a ton of success now. So I was out in Vegas for time before that, and Kai came out to train, and that's where I met him. I met him and actually our head coach Eli Karish. I was coaching both of them at the time. So yeah, about 2 years ago.
All right, very cool. And then I'm assuming, did you kind of run into him just in passing? Because I know he would come to Vegas every now and then too, maybe. Or did you go to Japan? Like, how did you actually meet Kai for the first time?
Yeah, so the first time I met him, he was late to my wrestling practice, so I made him do 50
Okay,
burpees.
perfect.
And that's how that intro happened. And then I really didn't know much about him. I knew his name, I knew he was fighting in RIZIN, but I really wasn't following too closely. We were, super busy at the time, so I wasn't giving him a ton of attention. And then we were getting Marab ready for the Peter Yan fight,
Okay.
and I saw some rounds where Kai was sparring with Marab, and I was like, oh man, like this kid's the real deal. And that's when I really started doing research on him, and that's kind of where it left off, to be honest with you. Like he came, we had a good time. I coached him, did some privates, and he left, and then once he ended up fighting Yuki Motoya.
Hmm.
And then after that, he got booked for the New Year's Eve card against Juan Archuleta. And that's when he gave me a call and asked me to come out to Japan.
Wow. Okay, so I mean,
So,
that's got to be pretty flattering, right? Because I imagine a guy like him, and you tell me, but would have a pretty kind of close or tight knit circle, and then so to let you in, that's got to be felt pretty good, right?
yeah, it was good, man. I think I'm still making my name in the sport. And I think one of the reputations I have is helping non-wrestlers beat wrestlers. That's kind
Yeah.
of an anti-wrestling style. And so we've saw a lot of success with Wei Lee and a couple different fighters I've been able to work with. And, I think just, being a straightforward person and working hard kind of gets you there. So Kai and I have always been able to connect, and it was cool that it worked out.
Yeah, so I'm always so fascinated by that dynamic, Billy, right? Like the international combination there, right? So do you speak
Yeah.
Japanese at all? Like, is it hard
No.
training Japanese fighters?
So I have a lot of experience coaching foreign guys, foreign men and women, wrestlers and fighters. And my style is very like it's a feeling style. So I really
Okay.
don't need to talk much. Like in other camps where, I've had fighters that speak zero English. I don't need a translator. I don't need anything. I can coach you without that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't speak any Japanese. I need to learn.
You're probably picking
We
up a
just
little, yeah?
Yeah, here and there. I can get like the context of a conversation,
Right.
but I really can't speak. So once we settle down a little bit after the fight, hopefully we'll get okay, get some time to really start dialing in. But yeah, so it's been a bit of a challenge more coaching the team, like when I'm running a full team practice, and translation there can be a little bit difficult, but
Right.
individually it's been good.
All right, that's cool, man. Yeah, that's kind of the thing that always would give me anxiety, imagining doing that. So.
Yeah, yeah, it has its challenges for sure, and MMA is such a special like niche little like niche little category of work, and it's almost similar to like medical terms in a way. So
Yeah.
you really have to have like translation that understands martial arts, and yeah, it's just its own set of challenges, but it's a good experience, and we have a good team around us.
Have you had a moment where somebody was just like not picking up what you were putting down?
Yeah, in Japan, because the translation's not direct. It's
Right.
not like you can put in A and get B. So, sorry, is it loud on my side?
No, sounds fine.
Okay, because there's now lawn work about to be done over here. Anyways, when you can't get like, in Japan, you put like a translation in the app. It's not like clear what comes out,
Yeah.
right? And so there's a lot of misunderstandings that happen. And so, I mean, you have to just put in the extra effort to make sure that you're getting your point across so that it's understood. And, thankfully my athletes understand that and they're patient, but, yeah, it's not very easy to do. So, and I don't know, I'm not a scholar on languages, so I don't know how many other languages are like that. I'm
Right.
sure
The
there's a couple,
similarities and whatnot, or
Yeah,
lack
it's a
thereof.
yeah, absolutely.
So I know you got the wrestling background, man, and that's kind of the thing, right? Have you ever wanted to fight or gotten close to doing it or anything yourself? I'm always curious about that for, coaches in your position who are still, relatively young.
Yeah, super young. It's actually kind of, my story is kind of a little bit unique. I was a top prospect wrestling in college, and got pretty injured and ended up getting medically retired. So, kind of had a weird story where I wasn't able to, I only competed 2 years in college, but was still healthy. So I came back to Vegas, where I'm from, and got right into UFC camps and was thinking, hey, I'm going to fight. And at the time, I got hooked up with Emil Meck and Jack Hermanson, randomly. And I actually moved out to Norway, and they asked me to go out there and coach wrestling. And like the coaching part was just very organic. Like it just kind of took over. And yeah, of course, like I have I train with the boys all the time. I mix it up with them. So I'm always wanting to, get the urge to fight, but I think it's really just a timing thing,
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, like Sakaki Bara actually mentioned me on a YouTube live recently about wanting to see me fight, and the right opportunity came up, 100%.
Man,
I would love to.
That would be crazy.
So yeah, it would be cool. So if there's an opportunity, yeah, I'm very open to it. But we work with some of the biggest stars right now in Japan, and they
Got your
take
hands full.
Yeah, they take a lot of priority. So the stars have to align, and I hope they do.
Do you mind me asking what the medical injury retirement kind of thing was there?
Yeah, so I shattered my orbital floor.
Oh.
So really unlucky, shattered my orbital floor, and I kept wrestling on it. And I was, top 20 guy in the country at the time. Kept wrestling, had some big matches coming up, so we kind of just pushed through. And then I was wrestling in Iowa State, actually. And like the first minute of the match, I split my head open on the back. And there was some sort of like protocol or something when I got back to Corvallis that they had to do like a brain scan or a head scan or something like this. So
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I got this, and they saw the fracture in my eye, the shadow of the floor, and I had to end up like scarring on my brain. So I think it was like a or like a what is the word I'm looking for? I don't know, just like a legal thing. They had a liability issue.
Okay, yeah.
Like, there wasn't necessarily something wrong with me, but
They didn't want to take the risk, kind of.
Yeah, so it was just a shitty situation, but it is what it is, and maybe if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't have had such a great opportunity to travel the world and coach the best fighters in the world. So
yeah, worked out. It did work out still, so that's a great way to look at it for sure. But yeah, that doesn't sound fun, man. Is that like a painful situation to go through?
Yeah, of course, like emotionally, right? Like I was a very competitive amateur wrestler in the U.S. and from as a little boy chasing the dream to be an NCAA All-American. And if you know anything about American wrestling, like it's like a religion. Like we live and breathe it and give everything we have to it. So yeah, it was heartbreaking. And but like when I have tough moments, but when I look back on it, is what I do for my athletes now, I don't think a lot of coaches do. My willingness to learn and my willingness to train and my willingness to get dirty and push myself and try to push them is like, I have this hunger that was never fulfilled. So I really, really like to win. And I preach that to my fighters, and I'll do anything to get there.
Did you kind of want to go like the Olympics route, or what was kind of your thought when you were competing?
Yeah, you never know. I mean, to me, to be honest, like the pinnacle has always been NCAA champion. Like, like I think, and if you're an NCAA champion, like I think collegiate American style wrestling is the best style in the world. I love the environment. I love everything about it. So that was my dream. I never really focused on freestyle and Greco, although I competed in it and had a lot of success in it. It was just like for fun. It didn't really matter to me. So yeah, my dream was to be NCAA champ, and who knows? I didn't really see anything past that. I never considered life after 25.
Yeah, just have the goal in sight, and then we'll worry about it afterward.
Yeah, 100%. That's how it's always been.
I don't want to get super off track here, Billy, but I got to ask you, I'm sure that you're familiar with like Gable Steveson and kind of his story, right?
Yeah.
So like, I'm curious from your perspective, man, being the wrestler and kind of seeing this guy at this super high level, the highest level, right, at 24 years old, and can't seem to like find a career post Olympics. It's very fascinating to me. And so like, from your perspective, what do you kind of think? I don't want to say the issue is there, or like, I don't know, what does a guy in his position do? Like, what would you recommend? He's obviously teasing MMA now in the future, like maybe not next, but it's very crazy to me to see this super athlete, right, who gets on the bills without any experience ever, crazy, and then still doesn't make the team, but that's a big win for him, like, but still searching. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, I think guys, fall into this trap, and especially in American wrestling, like for people that don't know, I mean, the guys that make it to Division I, that's 1% of all high school wrestlers. Yeah. And then the guys that All-American, it's like less than 10%. It's like 5%, right? The guys that are national champions, it's like less than 1%. So these are the elite. They've climbed the mountain multiple times. And I think it takes a special athlete that's had that success to humble themselves and start over in MMA, because it really is like, it's a retransition process. Like the best wrestlers can still get taken down when you can punch. Yeah. Like the wrestling is a different style in MMA. So I'm sure that's tough. And I don't know what his arrangements are, but I'm sure he's making good money and seeing some success. And who knows if that's affected his motivation or not. I can't speak to that, but at a young age, it's a lot. So I think if he commits to MMA, I think he's going to be super successful. I have no doubt in that. He's a superstar, and so great for coming from the sport of wrestling. I think it's just a matter of what he wants to do.
Yeah, the guy has options, so he's
Yeah.
not in the worst spot, but it is, yeah, it's been a very interesting saga to kind of watch, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. But yeah, so back to Kai though, Billy, of course, super excited for this debut here and everything, and kind of the big note, and I talked about it with him as you were there and saw, but like, you know, him going back to flyweight is kind of a very interesting element for me, and I've said this on record already, so it's like no problem with me saying it here either, but like, as long as the weight cut goes smoothly for him and he is making it and transitioning fine, I have full confidence that he's gonna win the fight. How has he kind of looked getting back down to the weight, and like, do you think he'll be better here? Because I'm thinking he's obviously done great at bantamweight, right? Like he's been sensational there, but going back to flyweight for the first time, and it's been a long, long time. I don't know if I have it up right here right now, but
Yeah, maybe 5 years.
yeah. I guess what are the expectations, and I guess how much of a part of camp, I guess, has it been readjusting his body for the weight class and stuff like that?
Yeah, we have a team around us that's doing his S&C, doing his stamina training, doing his diet stuff, and it's been no problem. Like Kai is a super professional. He is always busy and he takes everything serious, and he's done all the right things, So he's ready. The weight's no problem. I can confidently tell you it's no problem. We're in a really good spot, actually, like to where we've been eating many, many cheat meals because we can, and we can keep him strong and healthy. And yeah, we're in an excellent, excellent spot. So the weight it's not a concern. And Dana actually said this he said this recently about the Japanese fighters, like they don't really cut weight,
right?
And even they don't really cut weight. So Kai's weight cut down to flyweight is less than most flyweights that I've coached in the UFC. So it's not really a big difference.
Yeah, I know I think some people might not realize that too, and I guess I forget it too. But like, if you do miss weight in Japan, it's a much bigger deal. So,
it's a big deal,
which I love.
They're so traditional that they follow these traditional practices, and something you see at JTT, if you follow some of our guys, is like they're starting to do bigger weight cuts and they're starting to rehydrate and do the right things that are more Western style, and that's just the evolution of MMA. And Kai's fully on board. He wants to be the best in the world, and he's been able to be the best in Japan and the best in RIZIN, and now he's on the next thing, and he's approaching it accordingly.
So obviously things are always timing and situational, right? Especially with the fluctuation of kind of a division like bantamweight at the top that we've had this year. So you mentioned like kind of the March discussions originally. Was it always the plan then to drop down?
Yeah, from the beginning.
Okay.
I mean, we'd always spoken about it. Like maybe our first initial meeting was like, maybe it will be a bantamweight. Like we're open to what the UFC wants, and then as we really kind of honed into more serious conversations, it was like, yeah, let's make the move on the flyweight division first, and we can always go up. And we figured, hey, if Kai's kind of a tweener, so it's like, well, let's try to conquer the flyweight division first, and after that, let's go up. Let's have the ability, because it would be harder to put more weight on him and get him bigger and then come down. So we're in a good position, and that's why we decided to go flyweight right away.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Makes sense. And you kind of touched on it too when you said you saw him sparring with Merab for the first time and whatnot. And I made this very general on purpose, Billy. So I want to know from your perspective, like, what makes Kai different? And obviously that's super broad question, but that's why I want it that way.
For all the hardcore fans that will probably see, that are really paying attention, like, watch Kai. When you watch him fight, you're going to see a moment in his demeanor where it changes drastically. You're going to see this smile on his face, and you're going to see him looking to kill someone. Like, he has this vicious, relentless competitor in him. You hear, Tim Grover talk about Michael Jordan and all these different, Kobe Bryant, these different athletes where they get this obsession. Kai has that kind of obsession. Like, he wants to be great. He wants to be a champion. He wants to build, a massive legacy for himself and for MMA in Japan. So what makes him special is his confidence and ability to identify what he needs to be successful and then go and execute. So he's really a professional athlete. There's not many guys that are like him.
Yeah, for sure, man. And then, of course, the superstar power that he brings along with it. But on a technical aspect, too, Billy, I want to kind of pick your brain about what I guess you would say I don't want to say what his best area is at the moment or like what he's improved on the most, but I just want to highlight like I don't think I've ever seen a guy connect with those knees to the body, the timing and precision that he had on two opponents, right, to score finishes that way, and against a guy like Juan Archuleta in particular, and even Yuki, who is incredibly difficult to finish, to do it to both of those guys, like I think it looks like from an outside perspective, he's really locking in and finding these, he's seeing very well, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one thing that you can't teach a guy is like high sense. And Kai has just such a high sense of striking and feeling. And who knows, maybe that comes from the street fighting, right?
Yeah.
Where there's real dangers of putting your head on concrete or, getting really hurt. So he's got this high sense. Yeah, you can't teach that. You can't teach that. And thankfully, I got a great partner in Ellie Karras to work with Kai. And as we saw, like Juan Archuleta, elite level wrestler, can't take him down, can't do anything to him. Like, he adapts. So aside from the technical aspect is you could teach Kai something and it won't take him long to be able to do it in a live situation. Sometimes it's right away.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's, within a week. It's really impressive.
Yeah. And a little note too is I think the timing is nice for the grounded fighter rule to change. So then there's a possibility because they'll see some similar to soccer kicks, not quite exactly the same, but that's something he's locked in on as well.
Yeah, I hope that one day it makes the change. I'd love to see soccer kicks, head stomps, all that. I think it's good for the sport, actually. Although it sounds so violent, I think.
I mean, it's realistic, man. That's always my argument. That's a fight.
Yeah, it keeps things moving too. Like you're not going to have guys just like baiting or like waiting down on a knee. It keeps it moving. And the amount of times you really see like a stomp or like a soccer kick is, I mean, it happens, but it's not like it's super often.
Right. It's like a finishing sequence when someone's already hurt, usually. Like, if you're aware, you can avoid it a lot better than people realize, I think. So,
I think so, too.
But, yeah, good to have that option. And my favorite part, I think, is submission defense. Like, I always look at Miyu Yamamoto, who, I don't know if you've seen the fights where, like, she gets caught in an armbar and she kicks her way out of it. Like, dude, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw there's something on RIZIN 45. A guy got armbarred and he just starts stomping on the face.
Perfect.
Like inverted armbar. It's like, yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's realistic.
Yeah. So. As a spectator, I like to see it. And as a guy that coaches mainly strikers, I like to see it too. So.
Yeah, perfect. So I heard you talk about this a little bit with Sasha. But how do you describe Kai's popularity, man? For those who haven't seen him, I know you said kind of Conor McGregor of Japan, like that interview that you did with Sasha was earlier this year. So has it changed even more since the UFC signing? Like, how do you describe it, man?
Yeah, Kai's a superstar. I mean, it seems like whatever him and his brother touch turns to gold. So he's a superstar. He's loved by the fans. He's loved by the people of Japan, and it's really incredible. It's almost. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and you almost can't believe it until you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's how big he is. And so there's really no other way to explain it.
I mean, I've equated him and Mikuru to, and hear me out here because without context, it sounds terrible, but I equate them to the Jake Logan Paul, like the Paul brothers of Japan, except they're actually good fighters, right? And that's like the Japan part is they actually are skilled. Not that, Jake Paul has no skills or whatever, but you get what I'm saying, right? They're that big and have that reach outside of MMA, right?
Yeah, they're influencers. Like, that's the thing is they have YouTube channels, they're influencers, they have businesses and characters that are outside of their fight career, and coupled together, it's really cool. So, I think they're ahead of the trend and ahead of the wave of where MMA is going. To be honest with you, like we're not far away from seeing these larger than life characters come about, and I think that Kai's one of them.
Yeah,
I think they really are like a bit larger than life, and there's also the legacy, right? Like Mikuru is his fame, like restarted like RIZIN, like he restarted the popularity. He like was the rebirth of Pride, and now Kai's carrying it through and going to like that's kind of how we see this journey is like Kai's now gonna go get the job done, and his goal is to go become the UFC champion. And if he does that, like, you've done it. It's the rebirth of Pride. You're coming from the same owners, the same everything, and now you're going to go represent yourself on the biggest stage. So we're excited about it, man.
And do you help out with breaking down, or you've been a part of it in some aspect?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Yeah, man.
Because that's a crazy show.
Yeah, I was able to work real closely with Mikuru and Kai for this last breaking down. It's the day after Kai's fight. It's on December 8th, so I won't be there. But if you watch the auditions, we arranged an 8-man tournament. We have 2 UFC vets, a guy that fought on Dana White Contender Series and a guy that fought on Road to UFC, fighting in a 1-day 8-man tournament, 1 round, 1 minute fights. So, we're it's been really cool to work along the brothers and work with breaking down on this project.
Yeah, that's awesome and great timing. That's a big weekend for him for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
So, all right, man, this is kind of the big question for, the story I'm working on here ahead of this fight for Kai, but like, just how big do you think that the fight is, not just for Kai, but Japanese MMA, right? And the impact, like, he's the perfect guy for this moment. So how do you kind of quantify or describe what this can do for the scene, really, and just, what could happen with a Kai victory,
Yeah, I think Kai's the first star that's come to the UFC from Japan that he's the best representative. Like, everybody knows him, everybody loves him. So I think this really opens the door for Japanese MMA. Kai is if he wins the UFC belt, like, it really opens the door for Japanese MMA, and he knows where it's going to go. I think that there's a big future. You look at their combat, different combat sports like wrestling and judo, and the amount of success that they've had there. I think there's going to be heavy synergies coming over to MMA. So, I think it opens the door for everybody, and he's such a great, representative of the sport and representative for Japan. So it's all positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't help but fantasize about, like, first title defense. Maybe not the Tokyo Dome, but, Saitama or something.
Yeah, who knows? I have, like, visions of, Minotaur Nogueira. I forgot who he fought, but he fought in Japan National Stadium, 90,000 people or like 88,000 people. And, I have visions of Kai being able to sell out a big soccer stadium. So,
yeah.
Who knows whether it's Tokyo Dome or Saitama or Japan National Stadium. It's going to be big.
A lot of fun possibilities, man. Yeah, I don't think you'll have trouble with being the guy to do that either. So we'll see where it takes us. But all right, Billy, I don't want to keep you too much longer here, man. So just a couple more. But I got to ask, of course, whenever I talk to coaches, I got to get the insight on the up and comers you're looking at these days. Who we should let us know who we should look out for, who's coming up that you've been working with.
Yeah, that I'm working with. I mean, Seika Izawa, she's a savage, number 1 athlete in the world.
So I don't think she counts.
She doesn't. Maybe she doesn't count, but she's bursting onto the scene at least. Like, she's not really super well known, maybe. But yeah, I think with her, we got a girl that she works with us named Chihiro Sawada. She's in 1 championship. I think she's very young. She's got a very bright future. Kyoma Akimono, 7-0. Just he's 2-0 in RIZIN. So I think he's going to be a star. He's got like maybe 5 KOs. I mean, those are the guys. Like, from my gym, I would say probably Kyoma is like our biggest upcoming star right now. And I think we have some young talent that's getting developed, and we'll see how they shake out as they start facing tougher competition. And even in Japan, though, in general, I mean, like Igor Tanabe, I think he's gonna, like, if he comes out to, I'd love to see him fight on Contenders or something. I think Tension, if Tension ever made the move over, I think it's a possibility, and I think he could, obviously make massive waves in the community. There's a couple guys in RIZIN that I think could do great.
Yeah.
Japan's just a tough place because they always say yes to fights, and so you get a lot of like really tough fighters that are like 50-50 records, and it's no representation of their skill set.
Right.
So it's such a challenging place to be like, hey, this is a great guy, but then oh well, he's fucking 15 and 13.
Well, look who he's been fighting.
Yeah, and that's what, just not to piggyback off it, what makes Kai so special is he's fought everybody and he's got a crazy record.
Yeah.
Like that for Japan, with him and the record of his and Miku's, it's pretty rare.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, a lot of people, they just kind of overlook that. So it is, I love the scene, man. It is great. So yeah, you teed me up there because of course I got to talk to you about Seika Izawa because Billy, I'm telling you, man, I've been following this girl's entire career. Yeah. One of my favorite stories in MMA history, one of the greatest rookie years of all time. You know the story, so I don't need to run it out to you, but I one of my proudest predictions of where we would be now from when she started, like phenom, generational talent. I mean, from your perspective, working with her, man, why is she so good? Why is she the best in the world, man?
She's ferocious. Like she wants to finish you, and she's willing to learn. And like look at her last fight. Like she's mixing up head kicks to fucking double legs. Like it's nasty. She's doing shit that guys aren't able to do. Like Seika is very, very talented, and man. She's fun to watch. She gets after it. She looks for the finish. She mixes it up with our boys all the time. So she's not afraid to go in with anybody. And yeah, I mean, we don't know what her next steps are, but right now it looks like she'll be fighting soon, and we'll just be prepared to win that fight and see what's next. I mean, I think the sky's the limit for Seika.
How I always kind of describe her grappling is if you give her an inch, she takes a mile with it.
Yeah, she's super dangerous. And I've actually coached a lot of strawweight women in the UFC, and I mean, her skill set is top 5 in my opinion. Now, the transition's difficult. She's coming from a small weight, so who knows how that will shake out. But her skill set is that strong.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you too. And I mean, we've seen her compete at strawweight. She won the title there in Deep Jewels, so it's like. She is capable at both, but of course she's the best atomweight right now. And I mean the poster girl, if the UFC was to start an atomweight division, they've slacked on that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens, right?
Yeah. It's a weird time because it's like, well, hey, can she make the move to the UFC, and does she put the effort to go strawweight, or do we wait it out and see if she can go atomweight in the UFC, or does she stay in Japan? I mean, she's got a great career in Japan too, so fighting in the promotion she fights in there is an excellent living, and she can still create her legacy. So whatever she wants to do. Yeah,
for sure. But what I'm potentially sad about though, Billy, and I got to ask you, like, she's told me that she is planning to retire by 30. Do you believe her? Is that the plan? I hope not. I want to see her fight forever.
Yeah. Of course. Who knows? I think she's getting better and better. So
yeah. Makes it more difficult.
Yeah, maybe have that conversation with her again after her next fight and see what she says.
All right, for sure, man. But okay, Billy, this has been awesome, dude. I could talk to you forever, man, about all this stuff in Japan, but we'll leave it off here because I don't want to leave you too long. I guess just how exactly do you envision Kai getting the win here? I'm sure, of course, you guys have gone over it countless times now and all that, but what I guess is the most visualized thing, I guess, if you can say that without giving it away, what is your expectation, I guess?
Yeah, I think Kai's going to find the finish probably second or third round, I would think. But he's ready to fight 5. So like it's just like Juan Archuleta fight. Like we didn't know when it was coming, but we knew it was coming. So, he's ready to grapple, he's ready to wrestle, he's ready to work on the cage, and he's ready to fight in the open. So really wherever the fight takes us, we've been training, and I think we're going to see our best version of Kai, and I'm hoping to see a KO finish. Second round, third round, something like that.
All right. I like it, man. I look forward to it. So going to be very exciting times. I'll be there, planning to be there myself. So I will see you guys in 2 weeks, man. Going to be a fun time. But until then, Billy, I appreciate you taking the time, my man, and looking forward to this. Best of luck with everything. And hope you get to enjoy Thanksgiving and all that next week, man. I'm sure it's always fun having fights around that, right?
Yeah. Well, good thing they don't celebrate. The Japanese don't celebrate Thanksgiving. So I'll go. My family lives here. I'll be able to get some turkey, break some bread, and then head back. I go back to Tokyo on the 10th. So
There you go. Yeah, tease him a bit with all the food you're eating.
No, oh, dude, Kai's eating more food than I am.
Okay.
I'm on a, just in case I get a fight, I'm on a diet now.
Yeah.
Making featherweight's not going to be easy for me. So
Right.
he's eating more food than me.
That's incredible.
But awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, Billy. All right, enjoy the rest of your day, man, and we'll be in touch.
Likewise. Talk to you soon.
All right, later, man.